Hey there, welcome back to Diesel Creek. My name's Matt. In a previous video, you guys saw me get the old Lowboy trailer that I've been running for the past year here. Kind of got it tuned up a little bit, and I said I was going to put it up for sale, and did end up selling it. So I kind of hinted around at the end of that video, we needed to have a replacement, and I may or may not have come up with more than one replacement for that trailer. So in today's video, we're going to cover all that and more, and maybe even take the new trailer for a trial run to pick something up that you guys haven't seen yet. So stick around, let's dive on in. Well, I just pulled back in here after dropping off our old trailer. And as I mentioned before, we're kind of needing to have a Lowboy trailer at this point. I've graduated into enough big stuff that we pretty much have to have one. Otherwise, it's prohibitively expensive to pay somebody to move stuff. I mean, I've gotten great deals over the years from my buddies Sam and Gino. They really help a guy out, but it's still, I feel like I'm always pestering somebody to move something, or, you know, they cut me brakes, and I understand this is an expensive prospect. Nobody's trying to go out here and be trucking for free. Pretty much have to have one for myself though at this point, and that's why when my buddy Gino said that he had one that he would part with, I said okay, and I bought it. But this isn't it. I actually bought this one on the same day as the one from my buddy Gino, and this trailer is going to be a holdover until the one from Gino is completed, because as I'll show you here in a little bit, it's more of a project, whereas this one hopefully is a little more go down the road ready, although that remains to be seen. So let me show you what we got here. So this is a 2001 Trail King 55-ton drop side Lowboy trailer. This is non-ground bearing, and it is air suspension, versus the trailer we just dropped off and got rid of was a ground bearing, and it had spring suspension. So I'm definitely no Lowboy trailer expert. I look to Sam and Gino a lot, and my buddy Frank, for the advice on some stuff, because this is kind of a new field for me, and I'm just out here winging it. That's why we ended up with a trailer I wasn't entirely satisfied with right off the bat, is because I didn't heed their advice, and I'm trying to take it now. So the reason I bought two trailers in one day instead of one like a reasonable person is because this one here I got for a good enough deal through the auction that I think I'm going to be able to make some money on the back end when I decide to get rid of it. As you'll see in a little bit, the trailer I agreed to buy from my buddy Gino is a little bit more of a project. Hopefully this trailer is able to be hooked up to the truck today and go down the road, because I have something else I want to go pick up at Ritchie Brothers. Now, we've discussed it in the past. The difference between the ground bearing and non-ground bearing trailers is the way the neck attaches and detaches from the trailer. The way this one works is there are no ground contact points for the trailer to pick itself up and down. So it doesn't matter if you're sitting on pure mud, as long as you're able to get hooked up to the trailer, you're able to lift the trailer, and all that weight is put onto the truck rather than the ground. This trailer is what you would call a drop side trailer, which means that these center beams stick up above the floor of the trailer. Now, there's a few reasons you would want that. One of them is for height restrictions. If you're carrying a machine on the trailer that is just about at your maximum height, you can kind of cheat using a drop side trailer and get yourself down, I don't know, whatever that is, 4 or 5 inches there, and that keeps the load that much lower to the ground. That also helps your center of gravity. You know, if you're going around turns and stuff with 100,000 pounds on the trailer, that can get a little bit tippy. So every inch you can keep it lower to the ground is so much the better. The last reason you might like a drop side trailer is if you're loading things that don't like to go on the trailer straight, or they're just about as wide as the trailer is, they can get a little hairy, and sometimes you'll drop a machine off the side of the trailer, as I have done. The drop side is kind of nice because it basically creates yourself a little guardrail and the machine, it may want to slide, but you'll end up just sliding into the rail and not going clear off the trailer, which can be good. Sometimes it's just really hard to keep it on the trailer, and having those beams sticking up there in the center can be a big help. My personal preference, though, is that I don't like those. I like a flat floor because I come from a pipelining background, and if we don't have to, we don't take the front of the trailer off, we don't disconnect the neck, we just climb up over the side, pivot your tracks, and away you go. I do realize that I'm no longer pipelining, and this is all kind of for myself, and usually isn't that much pressure to get something loaded super quick and get it down the road, but it's still just kind of the way I like to do it. I can say with confidence that I have loaded bigger machines on more trailers over the side than I ever have going over the neck. So for that reason, I would prefer a flat floor, and that's what the other trailer I purchased from Gino is, and we'll cover that here in a little bit. I'll show you that trailer. So another reason I don't think I'm going to end up keeping this trailer is because it's not set up for a 4th axle. One of the provisions I wanted in my quote-unquote dream lowboy trailer is provisions for a pin-on 4th. Basically what that means is there's some ears welded onto the frame back here, and you have an extra axle that you can just keep laying around here because you don't really need it all the time. Or if you're going on a journey and you think you're going to need it, you can flip it up and it lays on top there, and it's not actually contacting on the ground. You're not wearing out tires, you're not paying tolls for extra axles or any of that, but you can flip it back down, pin it in place, and then that helps with your load distribution and your weight ratings and stuff to get all your axle weights right. So it's not something I would probably use a whole lot, but it is something that is very nice to have. The last provision that this trailer doesn't have that I really wanted in a trailer is an airlift 3rd axle. This one does not have any type of lifting 3rd axle. Basically what I'm talking about is you've got 3 axles here, 1, 2, 3. The 3rd one, unless you're loaded, doesn't need to be on the ground. And heck, even if you're loaded light, I don't think you have to have it on the ground. As long as your axle weights aren't over in any capacity, I don't think you legally have to have it down. So if you're just hauling a skid steer on the deck or something, there's no need to have all these axles on the ground. You're just wearing tires out and potentially paying more tolls again for nothing. We can, and I do plan on making this trailer capable of lifting the 3rd axle. So since we're on air suspension, what you do, drop your bags, let all the air out of them, the trailer will sit down, and then we're gonna have to weld on some chain hooks back here onto the frame and a short length of chain. And what we'll do is, while the trailer's sitting all the way down, you pull the slack out of those chains and hook them. Instead of all 3 axles remaining on the ground at that point, you reinflate your bags, and that back axle will go up with the frame, and the front 2 will remain on the ground. That's a pretty easy thing to add, and that makes this a little bit nicer of a trailer, the fact that you can keep that axle off the ground unless you need it. But it's still not an airlift axle like I'm talking about. I'll show you what that looks like when we look at Gino's trailer, because it already has the setup on it. So in typical me fashion, I bought this thing completely sight unseen from an auction, and of course the pictures weren't that great, and it was 5 hours away, so I didn't want to drive over there and look at it to find out I was disappointed. I would not have spent any more than I did on it, not having seen it, but I think for the price, we did okay on it. You can tell it's been auction sprayed. It has the 5-gallon overhaul going pretty hard. You can see in a lot of the little nooks and crannies, places that would typically rot out. It's definitely scaly and rusty, but looks like they cleaned it up halfway decent, gave it a good spray before it really rotted away. There's a couple places I've seen that look like they may have a little bit of rot going on that we might need to patch up or something, but overall, I'd say it's pretty runnable in its current state. So I bought the trailer sight unseen, and it just so happened that my buddy Gino was actually going out that way within a day or two of me buying this thing. So he just volunteered to bobtail out there and drag it back for me. Problem was, when he got there, it was super cold, and this thing was pretty much piled up in a snowdrift in the corner of the auction yard, I guess. And he connected to it and could not get any of the air system to really work. So what he ended up having to do was just leave the bags deflated and back off all the brakes. Since he was hauling empty, that's really not a big deal. The tractor is more than capable of stopping an empty trailer, and had to drag it all the way home here with none of this stuff working. So I just backed the Mac over here so we can hopefully get connected to it and see if any of this stuff's gonna inflate today, since today's above freezing for the first time in a while. One of the things he was complaining about when he was trying to get it to work up there at the auction yard, I don't know that we're gonna be able to see it right now, but whoever plumbed this trailer plumbed a lot of the air supply stuff off the bottoms of the tanks, and that's where all your moisture hangs out. So in a freezing climate, all that moisture is just going to lay at the bottom of the tank, get into your air fittings, and get into your lines and freeze everything up. Ideally, you plumb out of the sides of the tank and leave a drain valve on the bottom of the tank so that you can drain all that moisture periodically. So it's above freezing today. I want to get the Mac hooked up to this thing and see what kind of issues we're dealing with. Problem is, A, right now the trailer is sitting too low for the tractor to get underneath of it, and B, we got these weird connections going on here, so I can't even hook up to it and lift the neck. They've done some plumbing here with some just regular Schedule 40 black pipe, which is definitely not recommended. So I'm going to remove all that hardware store plumbing crap and those wing connectors because it's not what I want to run on my trailers. After we get that stuff removed, we're going to run to the hydraulic shop, get a couple lines made up because the lines for the other trailer were made on to the other trailer. They were kind of with the trailer. They were also a little bit anemic, I think. They were kind of small for what we were doing. So I'm going to get some bigger 3/4 lines made up. I want to also make them long enough so that I could back all the way up to the trailer like we are right here and then reach the lines all the way to the trailer. So just in this scenario right here, like the neck's too low, we can't get under it. If you didn't have a piece of equipment sitting around nearby, the only thing you could maybe do if you had the room was to pull the truck parallel to the trailer and then hook your lines up, lift the neck, disconnect your lines again, pull out, pull back under it. What I want to be able to do is just back straight up to it, hook the lines up, leave them connected, raise the neck, back under it, hook your air lines, and away you go, Bob's your auntie. So now that you know what we're working with here, let's go to the hydraulic shop and get that stuff. Well, we might have a new trailer, but it is completely worthless to us if we cannot hook it up to the hydraulics on the truck. So I just dropped $700 and some at the hydraulic shop to make a new wet line set here, and hopefully this is going to be a set that stays with the truck and not the trailer, because I'm not really planning on keeping that trailer long term. So we got some 2-wire 3/4 hydraulic hose, some anti-abrasion wrap, a couple quick connects, and some wing connectors, as well as some dust and water caps, and a miscellaneous hydraulic fitting. That was $700 and some, $712, I think, after taxes. It stings a little, but you know, you gotta pay to play. All right, well, that end's installed. There we go. So that's 2. If you'll notice, I put a different end on each line, so you got a male and a female, and I'm also gonna, obviously have to mimic that on the trailer. And the thought there is that you always connect them to the proper sides. Now, yes, in my case, the truck is rigged up with both of the male wing connectors, so I have the other end of these lines is going to have 2 females. So you could switch them at that end. Because I'm the only one running my truck, I will know which side is the pressure side and which side's the return. Bigger companies that just have trailers set up for everybody to run, they'll do this so that you can't mix them up. I want to be able to interchange with those people's trailers if I need to. All right, we're going to do the same thing here with our wing connectors at the other end of the hose. This side's a 1-inch NPT. One more of those, and we're going to be ready to install these bad boys. Now, what I forgot to do here before I started putting ends on is I want to put this abrasion wrap over both of the lines because they're going to come up out of the truck in 2 different places, and then I'm going to have them run together through the abrasion wrap all the way to the trailer side, where we'll cut this a little bit short or whatever so we can get them to hook into the trailer, and the lines should stay, a little better protected in this. So let's see if I can snake these through here. Might need to zip tie them together first. The guy said at the hydraulic shop, better to keep them from rubbing on each other in the abrasion wrap. I think this is a good idea, but I've never done it, so I guess we're going to find out together. Yeah, that's plenty of room to hook to the trailer. All right, let's hope I can get this wrap over the ends since I already put the fittings on. I don't want to have to take them back off. Ooh, I don't see this working. Haha, we got it. Somebody should have been smart enough to do this beforehand. Something that wouldn't hurt my cause here would be a little baby powder. I used to keep some around in the shop for doing inner tubes. I haven't seen it in a long time. This sucks. I should have thought this through better. Pull this off of here, take the fitting off, do it right. Well, now, that was a whole lot harder than it needed to be, or should have been, but it is done. I left the fabric protector there loose on the lines for now in case we need to slide it to one end or the other, or maybe trim a little bit off, but once I determine that it's in a good place, we're going to zip tie the ends of it so it can't slide around and become a problem. I still have to throw that other wing connector on there, actually. Okay, now we're ready to install these on the trailer. So I'm going to start taking this stuff off here, but one thing I was just thinking of while I was grabbing the pipe wrench was if I remove this stuff, you know, these are like quick connect fittings, is there any pressure behind these to the point where, you know, we might get the neck just fall all the way down basically and blow oil everywhere? I don't think, but I don't know. So I guess we're going to find out together. These wing connectors are fine, but they're not what Sam has. I like to be able to interchange with his stuff. He's nice enough to let me borrow things from time to time. Better get a bucket and some pig mats. That was self-defeating. Okay, no, we're not really losing anything. It was just what was up in the fitting. Not really much of nothing, which is good. Not too bad, we're doing good here. Oh my goodness. There we go. Just a mess of plumbing fittings. Well, trailer just sat down there a little bit more. Oh, there we go. All right, we'll put a little bit of pipe dope on our quick connects here, and then hopefully that keeps them sealed up a little bit better. I know there's probably somebody in the comments saying you're not supposed to put sealer on hydraulic connections, and that is true if you're using like JIC or O-ring face or something like that. No, of course not, but on pipe thread, I believe that any pipe thread you should put a sealer on, because pipe thread is basically just a big spiral fluid path that can and will leak. The ones on the truck, actually, right now, on the truck side of these connections, I have put sealer on and tightened down as much as I feel comfortable with. I feel like they're going to break if I go any tighter. And I still have a little slow leak over there. So, yeah, pipe thread, not exactly your best friend for hydraulics. I got to look and see what's going on here. I just realized we have two trailer plugs. Doesn't look like that one's been used in a long time, so maybe they added this one for some reason. I don't know. There we go. Okay. Well, it's time to take a little break from that project while we go grab some lunch, because I am starving. What we got today? Ooh, queso fondue and ground beef. Green Goddess chicken. Everybody's busy these days, and who has time for meal prep? It is nothing but a time suck between going to the grocery store, getting all your ingredients, chopping them up, cooking everything, packaging it up, getting it all ready for the week. It is a major time suck, and that's where Factor comes in. Factor delivers fresh, never frozen meals right to your doorstep. They're chef-crafted, dietitian-approved, and ready to eat in just 2 minutes. Whether you're looking for keto, calorie smart, vegan, veggie, protein plus, Factor has them. Over 35 meals each week to choose from, and over 60 add-ons like smoothies, snacks, and juices. Dill crusted chicken. This is a new one for me. Beats the heck out of a bagged lunch any day. For me personally here in the shop, Factor has been awesome because I don't have to run out and grab food. And like I said, I'm already too lazy or too strapped for time to meal prep. It's just not my thing. They've got tons of great options, things that I never even thought about for lunch. They have them and they're all delicious. I haven't had one bad meal from Factor yet. If you guys still haven't tried Factor for yourself, you're really missing out. Now's a great time. You can go to factor75.com or just click that link down in the description there and use my code 50CREEK to get 50% off your first order plus free shipping. That's factor75.com, code 50CREEK. Lunchtime's over. Back to work. Well, with our trailer connections fixed, time we can install our new line set here and see if we can't get this thing lifting up. I have to back the truck right up to this though because I made these just long enough. We're above 90. Why is the buzzer still going off? One thing I didn't really think about doing it this way, we're gonna have to stretch these hoses straight up over that greasy fifth wheel. That'll be a mess. There we go. So the trailer side's connected. Let's get them connected to the truck. So I am done with these stupid curly Q things. They're nothing but a pain in the butt, especially in the cold weather. I ordered another lifeline set, which is the 2 air hoses and your power cord. And they're going to be the same length as the wet line, so they should all bunch together the same and coil up and ride nice. Man, that's a tight squeeze. Should have made them a foot longer, would have been ideal. That's a bummer. One of the things I'd thought about doing was getting the truck side connectors put onto a 45 like these Glad hands down here, but I don't have the right fittings to do that today. Just doing that 45-degree angle would make it, we'd have plenty of room to connect then. It's tight, but I think we're gonna make it. There we go, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. Yep. Foot longer would have really been nice. There we go. Well, we definitely should have gone a foot longer. Would have made life a lot easier. I don't like that angle, but this shouldn't be something we have to do very frequently. Hopefully the trailer neck will keep itself up there. Anyway, let's kick the PTO in and hopefully raise the neck. Okay, that's the neck support. There we go. What is happening here? Oh, that's just water. Okay, good. So we need to release the neck lock so that we can get the neck to go up higher. Why is nothing happening? I've got the neck up just enough now that I can get the truck back like a foot or so and take that strain off these hoses, make me feel a lot better. One wrong move here and I could potentially break these $700 hydraulic lines. Well, just getting that slack in that hydraulic hose makes me feel a lot better. What I need to do right now is these are your, I don't know if you'd call them, it's not really a latch, it's kind of like your your block that the neck effectively sits on. You put all your weight down through this vertical here. I need to get, these are hinged down here. They need to come out a little bit so that I can get the neck to raise up more, because right now I'm trying to raise the neck and it's contacting here on these blocks. This is your lever that opens those things. Oh, there we go. I couldn't make it work before. Works now, so there you go. There's a good illustration. We should be able to raise the neck up now. Yeah, baby, we're going up. We're going places. See, there we go. That, you can see how that neck hinges now and goes down past these blocks. So I think that the neck is plenty high enough now. We should be able to back under there and get her latched. All right, let's back it up, Terry. Back it up. Oh, I was afraid of that. Hydraulic lines are getting a little jumbled there. We don't need to break them. I think I'm gonna have to put a zip tie around here as a good place for the bungee to pull on. Otherwise, we're gonna keep having problems like this in the future. Oh, I just put my hand right in the grease. Didn't grab my gloves because I'm an idiot. Ugh. Little hard. Didn't need to do that. Do a little tug test here. All right, well, we're latched. So now that we're sitting on the truck here, I can show you exactly how easy this thing is to pick up and down. Look at that, huh? Now, if you get high centered like we did with the Witzco a couple times, I had to get out, push the jack down on the ground, put shim plates under the neck, let it back down, hope that was enough clearance, and then hopefully pull away. This thing here, all you'd have to do is kick your PTO in, get out and move the lever. You can pick the trailer up. Look how high that is. You know, and we're actually, the way we're sitting, I think it's kind of lower than it would be if we were sitting on all flat. But you got about a foot there underneath the front of the trailer, and I have the bags deflated on the truck, so we'd go up another 4 or 5 inches. So the way this neck works, as you guys saw, that's your standard ride height right there. And if you would happen to need to cruise down the road for any distance, you're supposed to flip these up, give you your extra ride height. It adds an inch here, does a lot down there through the geometry of the neck. But let's drop this thing down and see what a standard ride height looks like. There we go. I gotta inflate the bags in the truck, and then we'll see where we're at. I can also kick the PTO out, I think. So here we are with our normal ride height right now, and like I said, we're not sitting on a perfectly flat area here, but that's about 4.5 inches in the front. And if we need a little bit extra, all we gotta do, lift that up, flip our shim blocks in. So there we go. That 1-inch shim block brings this up quite a bit. We're sitting at right about 7 inches now. So we know the neck functions now. The hydraulics seem to be doing what they're supposed to do. Let's get the air connected and see if we can figure out the air system. Hopefully, I just have to adjust my slack adjusters and we have our brakes back. Hopefully everything's unfrozen. Hopefully there's no major underlying issue and it was just ice. All right, I'm gonna go engage the air supply to the trailer. Hopefully the bags start inflating and the brakes, work. That's all wishful thinking. Oh, yeah, it's wishful thinking because I already see there's a pin missing out of one of the clevises on the slack adjuster in the center axle here. That's a great sign. Well, something's happening because I can hear a little bit of air hiss back here. Whether that's a hiss as in it's inflating or a hiss as in something's leaking, I can't tell yet. Starting to lean towards the leaking side of things. Should have known. Whose bright idea was it to buy this thing sight unseen from the auction? Oh, it's just a little bit of everything leaking. Don't even worry about that. Well, there's several things leaking here, all of which I think are rubber air lines that should probably just be plastic DOT lines. I don't think there's any law or reason that they couldn't be, so I have that stuff here. I can probably fix these leaks pretty quickly. Hose going into the bag here's kinked. That's nice. Oy. Oh no. Oh no, 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 no. All right, I patched 2 lines that I could hear leaking, and I just kicked the air back on, hoping the bag's starting inflating here. Oh, I think something's happening. I think I see airbag movement. Oh yeah, she's going up, baby. Sweet. So the reason I had to fix the air leaks first before the bags would go up is because there is a pressure check valve on the air tanks, and if you don't have, I think it's 60 or 90 PSI, I think it's 90 PSI. Sam just told me this like last week. It's the only reason I even know it. If you don't have your 90 PSI at the check valve, it won't put any air out to your bags. Something about, that's to ensure you don't lose your brakes if you have an airbag blowout. You can do it! Come on, little airbag. Starting to look like something. I can tell by the way that the airbags are kind of peeling the paint off that they have not been inflated since this trailer has been painted, which confirms my 5-gallon auction overhaul theory. One airbag is not really seating right. Not a fan of that. I think the only thing I can really do is overinflate them and then let it deflate again and try to get it to seat better. Which seems like we're already well on our way to overinflating. Okay, well I had to run. It's actually the next day, and we're back here messing with these airbags. I got them to inflate yesterday, as you guys saw. They're overinflating, so usually the problem would be the leveling valve, which is right there. That thing just has a little reaction arm on it, which senses the height of the trailer basically, and kind of regulates how inflated the bags get. In addition to that thing though, this particular trailer has back here an override effectively, and nothing's labeled. I can't tell which way is which. One of these, this is like a selector valve here. One of these should be like normal ride height, and then the other position should be dump. And that effectively just dumps all the air out of the bags. Nothing's happening, so I don't know if this switch is bad, or maybe there's a relay valve somewhere that's bad, but yeah, no change there. And then this trolley valve can manually control the height as well. So I'm not sure exactly how it's supposed to work, because I would think that there should be some sort of manual position for this switch so that you could use the trolley valve to inflate or deflate your bags as needed. Maybe I'm wrong though, and as long as you keep it all the way forward, which should be the off position, you know, the bags go to their normal height, and then if you need to raise them up, you just move it where you want it. I don't know, but I actually, yesterday when you guys were watching the bags finally come up, I ended up getting a little nervous. They looked like they were getting too full for my liking. I was worried about them maybe popping. So I cut the pressure from the truck, and it took quite a while for these things to bleed back down, which is good. That means there's not a lot of air leaks, but we need to get them to ride the correct height. So I'm going to go up into the tractor, kick on the air for the trailer here. The bag should start to come up, and we're going to watch that leveling valve, and maybe we'll unbolt the reaction arm there and see if we can manually run that leveling valve. So it'll take a minute, has to reach sufficient pressure for the brakes to release. We're gonna watch for that as well. Well, it looks like the brakes are all moving. They all did what they're supposed to do. All right, looks like the bags are starting to come up now. I have the trolley valve back there in a different position than I believe I had it in yesterday, so maybe that means our leveling valve's going to work. I don't know. Before I go messing with it, we're going to find out. Oh, I think once again we're overinflating these bags. Yep, for sure. So I'm going to go cut the supply air. The trolley valve doesn't seem to make any difference whatsoever. Well, there we go. Maybe that switch might have made a difference. All right, hopefully I can just unbolt this reaction arm and manipulate the valve. Worst case scenario, that valve's bad, I think. All right, what a pain. There we go. The leveling valve is dumping air, but it's like barely dumping air. So I think actually right there it should be dumping. I'm gonna go kick the supply back in and see what happens. All right, so here's our supply air coming out of the tank, goes up and around, comes into the leveling valve. And this is the air coming out of it, what probably runs to the bags. I'm playing around with the reaction arm here, and the bags are still inflating. Like right now, that should not be putting any air to the bags, and it still is. So I'm gonna go cut the supply again. All right, well, I've been playing around back here with the leveling valve, the manual valves, and that bypass dump valve thing we were looking at earlier. And as I said, I am very new to this stuff. I'm trying to understand it and wrap my head around it. So called my buddy Sam over at Scrappy Industries, did a little FaceTime action with him, and what he thinks is the issue is this guy right here. So this is actually an air relay valve. What actuates this relay is the switch in the back there. This should either make the airbags run off of the leveling valve, or when you flip the switch, it's supposed to do something in here and make the airbags run off of that trolley valve at the back end there by the switch. So I can definitely see that this thing's pretty corroded up. It looks pretty rough. It wouldn't surprise me if something's gone wrong in there. This trailer, it looks to me like it sat for a long time before they sent it to the auction, and then they just gave it the 5-gallon overhaul. So with all that being said, I'm not worried about having any manual control of these airbags right now. For the time being, I would just fine with them running off of the air relay valve. Kind of tracing the plumbing out here, it looks like if I take this line off here and just connect it straight over to this one here, that means that the air system will all be running through the relay valve and eliminating all the manual control. I'm going to play around also and do some more diagnostic and make sure that this is the issue. And if it is, we will fix it eventually. But for now, I got a machine to pick up, and I'm not worried about any of that manual stuff. It's not really necessary. It's just nice to have. I feel like getting this off of here without breaking it is going to be a tall task. Definitely pretty corroded. I wouldn't be surprised if the inside of this air brake relay is very bad as well. These plastic DOT lines are very similar to brake lines on like a hydraulic system. The furls and the nuts that hold them will kind of bond themselves to the line itself. And now I'm trying to spin this line off of here, and we're twisting the line. Probably wind up tearing the line up in the process here, unfortunately. Not looking good for our poor little line. All right, I got these lines off. So this side comes from our leveling valve. This side goes to the right side airbags. And this line here goes to the left side airbags. I don't need to take this one off just yet because I'm just going to play around with a few things here and see about the pressure coming out of here. With this end off of here, you're not going to get any air pressure going up this way. So I'm just going to play around with this a little bit and see what I can figure out. All right, so we're filling the air tanks. When we hit that cutoff, I think it was 90 psi, this thing will open up and send air places. We got to figure out what's what on our valve here for sure before I connect things. I know for sure that this side is the airbags. I just got to figure out these inputs over here on the relay itself. One of these has to be supply air. I think it's this top one. But then again, there's also supply air coming in from the check valve over to the leveling valve. There we go. So our leveling valve is working. Well, if I flip the switch back here for the dump valve, it does work. The trolley valve seems to have no effect though. Okay, we figured out this air relay works. I don't know. I tried that switch back there in both positions before and it still overinflated the bags. So let's try this now. I just reconnected it. Theoretically this should work. I mean, we're inflating the bags. They could have had the height control just set wrong. So I'd say right about there is honestly where we want to stop, which isn't far off of where the height control's set at. I don't know, it seems to be working now. Okay, well I have all the suspension stuff ironed out. It seems to be leveling itself and regulating itself just fine now. All I'm doing now is going through and adjusting the slack adjusters on the brakes since they were backed off. Supposed to have no more than 1 inch of free play. Yeah, these backed off quite a ways. About a ½ inch, that's pretty good. You want a little bit of free play in your slacks, that way you're not dragging your pads while you're going down the road. All that does is cause excessive pad wear out brake parts fast. Okay, I already did all the other 4. I didn't bother filming the other 4 because, well, you've seen one slack adjuster done, you've seen them all done. So, brakes should be good. I think we're ready to go ahead and try to give this thing a tug test to make sure the brakes work. Okay, I've got the brakes all adjusted properly, I believe, and all there is to do now, I'm gonna jump on the tractor. With the parking brakes released, I'm gonna pull ahead in low gear, and then I'm gonna use the hand trolley valve in the truck to hopefully lock up these rear trailer brakes. All right, after reviewing the footage, everything looked good. Tires locked up. This back axle didn't, so I readjusted it, and it should be good to go now. It was within spec. I just made the front 2 axles a little bit tighter than this one, so probably still would have been okay, but you know, better to have them closer than further. Anyways, I think all there is to do now, I'm gonna check the lights real quick, and then I think, as long as everything's pretty good there, we're gonna go get us a machine. Good news, it looks like all the lights work except for our clearance lights. But I think they got something wired wrong. Those yellow or amber lights, those are supposed to be like flashy strobe lights for when you're hauling oversize. And they've got them wired into like the turn signal circuit. So yeah, that's not really right, but I think it'll get us by for today's purposes. Everything else is working. So yeah, throw a license plate on this thing and we're gonna be hitting the road. All right, kids, it's time to rock and roll. Well, we made it up here to the sale grounds to pick up my latest auction purchase. I'm sure just looking around here, you can probably guess which one's my speed. I picked up this Fiat Alice M100C model grader. And you might say, Matt, you already got 3 graders. Why do you need a 4th? Well, this one is quite a bit bigger. And I'm actually going to start maintaining the township's road that gets to my place, I think, because they don't really have the equipment to do it, and maybe not the budget as well. This machine weighs about 32,000 pounds, I believe, and I think it's right around 30 feet long, so we couldn't even haul this thing on the other Lowboy trailer if we wanted to. The tandem I had would not have worked. So anyway, let's detach the neck for the first time. I did verify that the lock and everything worked before I drove out here, but let's get that thing detached, get the grader fired up, and pull it up on there. The neck locks are still pretty stiff. I've been spraying them and working them around, trying to free them up a little bit better, but still take a little persuasion with a hammer. There we go. Right now we got the first load with the new trailer blues. I didn't bring much in the way of cribbing here, but the neck supporting leg that sets on the frame rail doesn't have any place to set. I thought it had a lot more stroke than it does. Hopefully that's good. Yeah, I think we got it. Lock popped up. We just got to nest our lines down in the trailer, and I think we can pull ahead. Well, that's the first I've had it off there. It seems to work all right. think we nailed it. Hard to ask for much better than that. Man, I'm doing good here. I even nailed the hookup on the first shot. Straight up. That's all there is to it. Well, we got all chained down. I think we're ready to hit the road. This thing fits on here really well. It's like, it's real close between, I could have left it all on the flat deck and not had to put the front axle up on those ramps, but I think, just eyeballing it, I think I'd have been about a foot short. I think the wheels would have been like just starting up the ramp when the neck would have been up against that bumper. So just as easy to do it this way. I could not have fit this thing on that Witzco trailer at all. Weight-wise, we'd have been fine. This thing weighs only 32,000, but she's just too long. Anyways, I'm pretty happy with this trailer so far. Let's see how she pulls with a load. Well, we made it back into the yard, and I didn't want to or plan on it, but I have made my case for the non-ground bearing trailer. So as you can see, I was swinging this turn here, and the gravel was higher than the dirt. Not to mention, we're sitting on a broad overbend in the dirt, so the trailer is at the highest point right now. As I started to make that turn, we started plowing into my gravel, so I don't want to do that. Not to mention, you can see it's just filling up the side of the trailer. So look, all we have to do, instead of fiddling around with blocks of wood and shims and everything, look how nice and simple. And we can just pull on ahead. Well, 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 I call that a great success all in all. Lifting the trailer up like that was so simple versus that ground bearing trailer. And if I would have been paying more attention, I could have lifted the trailer before I hit into the gravel, and I don't think I would have disturbed it at all, or at least barely touched it. So we'll pull back up on the gravel and kick that little bit out off my rails. But the trailer pulled really nice. The brakes worked really good. I really don't have any complaints about this thing at this point. I think it was a pretty solid purchase, and I think it's going to hold me over just fine until I can get into that other trailer. One of the other reasons I don't like a drop side trailer like this, I think I forgot to mention early at the beginning of the video, is if whatever you're hauling isn't wider than these beams, well, then you have to drive it up on top of the beams, and that's a real pain in the butt with like a skid steer or a mini or something. Or say you're hauling something like that smooth drum roller over there, which I would probably haul it on this trailer. I've hauled it with the pickup and I can legally do it, but it's a lot for my trailer, more than the pickup. The pickup doesn't seem to care at all, but I would prefer to haul it on a lowboy. But hauling, say, that smooth drum would be quite a pain. Just to get it up onto the deck, you'd have to have a pile of cribbing because the beams stick up so far in the center. I think the spread on the beams is wide enough that it wouldn't really be sketchy, like it wouldn't feel like the drum was going to fall off, but I guess it could if you're not perfectly level with the deck. Steel on steel, there's basically zero traction, so that drum could start wandering and slide right off those beams. I know some of you guys are going to have questions about the grader, and we will get to that in another video. This video is more about the trailer than the grader, so yeah. One thing I will say about this trailer that I didn't remember experiencing with my smaller trailer was it's got a little bit of a bounce to it. You know, these beams, the floor has got a slight arc to it to begin with. That's how they kind of like pre-tension the beams so that when you load it heavy, it kind of flattens out rather than sagging. It seemed like when I would hit some big bumps, which the route that I had to take there was loaded with big bumps, I could kind of feel the trailer like bobbing and flexing. That may also be a side effect of having an air ride trailer too. My other trailer was spring ride versus having airbags. I don't know what the deal is with this switch back here. Something still isn't quite right because it doesn't reinflate the bags. Like when I reconnected the neck up there and lifted the trailer and got it all ready to go, the bag should have just started inflating again according to the leveling valve. I had to come back here and do what I just did, which was manually engage that. The bag's inflated, and then I kicked it back over to the leveling valve selection, and then the leveling valve was able to pick up from there. But for some reason, it didn't do that all on its own like it should. So here is part of the other trailer that I bought from my buddy Gino. This is a 2001 Fontaine 55-ton flat floor trailer. As you can obviously tell, the beams don't stick up in the center. which does give you a slightly higher ride height, but typically that's not going to be an issue for anything I'm doing. Kind of like specialized things really need to be concerned with that. If you maybe have like a big, like one of those 30 or 40,000 pound forklifts with a real tall mast on it, that could be an issue. For what I do, this thing is just about perfect. I really like that it doesn't have any flip ramps on it. The way the trailer's made, you kind of don't need them. It just tapers down nicely on its own. Of course, it's going to start raining on me. But this trailer, as I said earlier, is a bit of a project. This part of it, what you're looking at, isn't too awful bad. Really, it could just use a blast and paint. It's got some scaly areas, but nothing's really rotted yet. I haven't checked in that chain well. It looks pretty rough down in that chain well. So we may find a little bit of patching to do on the main part of the trailer here, but I don't think overall, I don't think it's too bad. I believe this is a 24-foot well, which is plenty for anything I'm going to be doing. The only thing that you'd want the only thing you might haul that you would want a longer well, and if you don't know, the well is the floor of the trailer, so from like there up to where the neck would be. The only thing you would want a bigger well for would be hauling like a big rock truck, like a 50 or a 40-ton rock truck or something. You might need a 26 or even a 28-foot well. I don't plan on hauling anything like that. I like the way the Fontaines are built pretty well. It's just a well thought out trailer, it seems like. This one, as I mentioned earlier, has the provisions for the pin-on fourth axle, and this third axle has a pneumatic lift bag down there. So all you got to do, if you don't want to use this axle, you just flip a switch back here at the back, and this axle just lifts itself right up, which is much nicer than having to fool around with chains or anything back here. So it does need a good blast and paint, but the main reason I'm saying it's a project is because, as you can tell, the neck's not even here. The neck is still over at Gino's shop, and basically the way that these Fontaine trailers connect, there's like a big bar that runs across the bottom of the neck. It engages in those hooks, but when you disconnect and you drive away from it, if you're not paying attention, you can just be dragging that neck across the ground every time you pull forward. And I think that's what somebody did to this trailer before Gino bought it. He's never pulled this thing. He bought it at a sale and was going to fix it himself, and just decided he's never going to have the time or need, really. So I took it off his hands. But the neck requires some pretty serious welding, and I'm going to have a welder buddy of his actually fix that. I don't want to put that kind of pressure on myself for welding. I went to school for welding. I think I'm decent enough at it. But when it comes to something like that, like literally all the weight of that trailer is going to be resting on those welds. So I don't trust myself. I don't weld enough to be confident in doing something like that. I'd probably be okay, but better to not take that chance. I'd rather pay somebody that I know can weld that properly. In addition to having to be a good welder, it takes special steel. At least that's what Gino tells me. There's certain types of steel that go into that neck. You don't want to just use regular old mild steel. So he's going to get in contact with Fontaine, figure out exactly what he needs, and then patch that thing up. Once the neck is finished welded up, that's when I'm going to take over the project. We're going to get into blasting, painting, replumbing some of this stuff. It doesn't look too awful bad, but we'll go over it. I want this trailer to be pretty much 100% before I put the other one up for sale. So it may be a little while before you see this thing. It's not a huge priority, but it is on the list. I would like to have this thing hopefully done by winter. I say that, but there's a lot to do between now and winter, and I don't know. We'll see. I hope. There's a lot to do, though. Anyways, guys, I'm going to call that a wrap on this video. It's starting to rain on me, getting pretty nasty out here. We're going to get this thing unloaded in the morning and probably start making a video on this guy. Anyways, if you like this video, do me a big favor. Hit that thumbs up button down below the video. Really helps out the channel. Doesn't cost you guys a dime. If you want to see more videos on the Mac or the Lowboy or whatever, be sure to drop a comment down below. Let me know what you guys are itching for. That sometimes helps me decide what I'm going to work on next. Outside of that, thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you on the next one. Later.